Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Becerra, you said a little while ago that you never sued the nuns, which is a pretty interesting way of reframing your bullying. You actually sued the federal government, who had given an exemption to the nuns. Can you explain to us what the Little Sisters of the Poor were doing wrong?
So, Senator, as I try to explain, my actions were against the federal government. It's not the Little Sisters of the Poor. We never alleged that the Little Sisters of the Poor did anything wrong. Our problem was that the federal government was not abiding by the law as we saw it. And what we did was we took action against the federal government so California could administer its programs to make sure that the Affordable Care Act continued to work.
What were the nuns doing that made it impossible for California to administer their program? That was just a complete nonsense answer. What were the nuns doing that it made it difficult for California to administer your program?
Well, as I said, Senator, our action was against the federal government. It's what the
No,
federal
you continued and you said, so that California could administer your program. What did the nuns do that made it difficult for California to administer their program?
And Senator, what I'm trying to explain to you is that we were not looking at the actions of the Little Sisters or any other program. Our actions were against the federal government in the way it was applying the law as it existed to California.
But what did the federal government do? It was about the nuns. This is nonsense. Like, what you're saying isn't true. You say you didn't sue the nuns. You sued the federal government that was keeping you from making sure that the nuns had to buy contraceptive insurance. Were the nuns going to get pregnant?
Senator, the actions of a state of California, and I was defending the actions of our state and the laws that were in place, the federal government took actions, changed the way that we would administer the programs that we had under the Affordable Care Act. Our actions related to how providers are providing services to the people of California. When the federal government took action that we thought was unlawful, we took action to protect the people of California.
So again, a whole bunch of words, but you know well, you're an incredibly smart man, you know well that what the federal government did was make sure that you couldn't target the nuns. So you sued the federal government because the federal government said the nuns didn't have to buy contraceptive insurance. You can put 17 layers of you were following the law to go after the federal government for administering the program or doing X or doing Y that made it difficult for California to administer the program, but it was just about nuns buying contraceptive coverage. Was there something else the federal government did that you were suing them for when in the case called California versus Little Sisters of the Poor?
Senator, the case was not, again, that was not the name of the case. And what I will tell you is that our actions were based on trying to follow the law, that when the federal government took action, which we believe did not comport with the law, at that point we took action. And our action was based on the law. And so, as I've said, we may disagree on how we see this, and I respect the differences that we may have, but my action was to follow the law.
What about the law, as the federal government's conscience exceptions applied in the case where you sued the federal government, what about the law applied to anybody except the nuns and other similarly situated religious institutions? You were targeting religious liberty.
Senator, let me see if I can try to answer. The Affordable Care Act tries to make sure that we are providing health care to all Americans, and we have to make sure that we provide the services that Americans are entitled to receive. We tried to make sure that in California, under the Affordable Care Act, every Californian receives the benefits they're entitled to under that act. And so when we saw that the federal government was taking actions which might abridge those rights.
And so I'm going to ask the question again. You said the federal government taking actions. This is the third time you haven't answered. Were any of those actions about anything except nuns and religious liberty? Was the federal government taking other actions that you were suing about in that case? Or was it just because you wanted to target the nuns and religious liberty?
Senator, again, I respect the way you view it, but from the
because
perspective—
it's actually what happened.
Well, Senator, I understand that we may view it differently, but I was trying to protect access to care.
I'm giving you the chance to explain what do you think it was about if it wasn't this. And you've not yet explained any party except the law is administered by the federal government, but it was about the nuns.
Senator, I'll try once again to explain. Californians are entitled under the Affordable Care Act to access care.
And the nuns were keeping them from getting care how?
The federal government was changing the way
to make sure that the religious liberty rights of the nuns were protected. Was there anything else the federal government was doing except making sure the nuns had religious liberty?
Senator, I respect the differences
For
in
the
the way you
fifth time,
view
you've
this.
not answered the question. I've asked you for any party besides the nuns, and you've just said you respected diversity of opinions, but